Well, today we are joined by the world #1 squash player, Nick Matthew, all the way from Sheffield, England, beaming there with his squash racket. And we're here at Canary Wharf. What are we doing here in the heart of the city with all the pinstripes?
Well, we're here for the Canary Wharf Squash Classic. I'm playing my first round against Borja Golan from Spain tomorrow night, and in the meantime I'm going to give you a masterclass, teach you 5 shots, and hopefully give John the runaround.
John being the Sportsvibe gimp that we've got here today. He's been bigging himself up for the last 2 weeks. He's between you and me. He reckons he's going to beat you, so we'll soon find out. But before we see the masterclass and we see the embarrassment of our office gimp, a quick word about you. Now, you come from Sheffield. Sheffield Wednesday or Sheffield United? Big question.
Wednesday.
Why are you smiling?
Well, there's not a lot to smile about. I've been a Wednesday fan lately. But I still remember the halcyon years when we were in all the cup finals, winning the old Rumbelows Cup, coming third in the Premier Leagues. But I still fondly remember those days of Chris Waddle and David Hurst. But those days are long gone, unfortunately. We're staring down the barrel of League Two at the moment.
Desperate days, eh?
Desperate.
But on the good side, you are world #1. Now, tell us how a guy from Sheffield becomes the world #1 squash player. In fact, how does any Brit become the world #1 squash player? Because obviously for many years it was all about the Khans from Pakistan and the Jeff Hunts of the world, and I know this going back a bit, but tell us about British squash, because it's very good right now, isn't it?
Yeah, we're at the moment we've got 2 guys in the top 4 in the world, 4 in the top 10, and 3 girls in the top 10 in the world as well, so it's probably the strongest era we've ever had. I think it probably started back in the days when we got the lottery funding first came in. I remember I was lucky to be one of the first players in '98, and since then we've all come together, centrally funded, sort of funded our lives to be professional squash players, and the training, the support, everything from there on has sort of come, and this generation is sort of proving how beneficial that's been.
Now, the thing about squash is it's not the most covered in the British media, but a hell of a lot of people play it, don't they?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that the sport's always going to have. The participation level is one of the highest played sports, and to get the sport more publicised, well known, we need to sort of tap into the people who play and get them sort of following the sport and get it sort of more on television. Obviously, with the Olympics coming up, the fact that squash is unfortunately not in 2012 is a massive blow for us in terms of the coverage we're going to get up until then. But we've proved at things like Commonwealth Games that it's very good on television now. It comes across well, and anyone who sees it live, I'm sure they'll go away sort of having enjoyed the experience.
Well, you mentioned the Commonwealth Games. Of course, we are also here in the presence of the Commonwealth champion. Not just singles, doubles as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, squash doubles. We don't play it too often. It's a bit manic on there, but a gold medal is a gold medal, and I'm happy to have come away with that.
Well, the good thing about squash, particularly over the last, say, 10 years, Nick, where to be fair, the sport has been trying everything it can to sort of make it more sexy, more amenable to the public, is that you can play anywhere, can't you? I mean, we're playing here in the middle of a building in the middle of Canary Wharf, but this is probably not the strangest place you've played. You've probably played in some odd places in the past. Yeah,
I mean, the beauty of squash is you can take the four walls and basically put them anywhere you've got the space. We played in front of the pyramids in Cairo. Grand Central Station is a permanent stop on the tour in New York. We played in Wembley, Conference Centre, Liverpool Street Station, here in Canary Wharf, Crucible in my hometown in Sheffield. Some fantastic venues, and that's the way. Malaysia playing massive shopping malls. That's the way to take the sport sort of to the next level. We've got the massive video screen above me, as you can see, and this week's going to be the first tournament that we trial video replays to really try and get that crowd interaction going. So they're always trying new things to make the experience better for spectators.
Fantastic. So when you're playing, say, at Grand Central Station, New York, literally commuters just wandering past all the time.
Yeah, they're clever the way they do it. They have seating behind 3 walls for the paying public, and then behind the front wall they have it open to general public, so people can sort of be wandering off, and I think there's 1 million people pass through that station every day, so it's a great way to sort of sell the sport and get people saying, wow, what's this, and they stop and watch for 10 minutes before or after they train, and that's a great way to sell the sport.
So who's your biggest rival or rivals in squash? I mean, you are world #1. You intend to keep it that way, don't you?
I'm trying. Yeah, this is the second time I've got to the summit. The first time I didn't last too long. An Egyptian called Ramia Shaw, who's slightly younger than me. He's got a few. I think he's got 7 years on me.
Not as experienced, though.
Not as experienced, yeah. So me and him have been neck and neck for number one over the last sort of year, 18 months. He's a fantastic player. We've had some great battles, and hopefully a few more before I get too long in the tooth.
Fantastic. Well, Nick, I think this will be a good opportunity for you to show us some of the basics for people like me who sweat and flounder from corner to corner. All I do know is you're supposed to dominate the course, aren't you? And if the other guy's running from corner to corner, that probably doesn't happen at your level, does it? But at my level, it does. That's the basic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Don't do the running.
Absolutely.
Force the running.
Absolutely. If you can stand on this thing, the tee here, and make your opponent sort of run in circles around you, then you're doing a pretty good job.
Fantastic. Well, I've got a feeling you're going to make John from Sportsvibe run around in circles. I hope so, because then we can take the mickey out of him for weeks on end. So over to you.
Okay, so the first shot I'm going to talk about is basically a straight drive. It's the most basic shot in squash. It's sort of how you would structure all of your rallies from start to finish. If you can play a ball straight down the wall, as close to the sidewall as possible to sort of stop your opponent volleying the ball, that will give you the chance to sort of put them in the back corners and you to get the middle position, the tee on the court, and then you're sort of basically setting up the rally, you're structuring the point, you're controlling the game. And you'll see a lot of sort of rallies up and down the wall in the pro game where people watching might think, well, why doesn't he attack there? But you're just trying to create the best opportunity to attack. Maybe using your fitness. If you think you're a fitter player than your opponent, you might want to sort of prolong the rallies and get into a sort of nutritional game. So I'm going to try and play a few straight drives down to the back and see if John can get them back. That's better. Okay, so I got John stuck right in the corner that time, and he wasn't able to return it, and he noticed I was in the middle waiting for any potential return. That one leads me on to probably the second shot, which is the boast, which from that position there, if John had used the sidewall first to then return the ball to the front, then he would probably be still in the rally right now. And the boast can be used as a defensive shot, an attacking shot. It's a shot where you hit the sidewall and then the front. A lot of people will just try and get the ball to the front wall first of all, especially maybe someone from a tennis background. The sidewalls can sort of just be a little bit throw you off in squash because you're not used to that sort of confined space, you're used to the ball going forwards all the time. So the sidewall can be very, very effective in terms of returning it both from a defensive and attacking position. So I'm going to imagine now, John, that we've swapped positions. So you just hit a shot back there. Okay, so if you want to say hit the first one, so you're going to drive to me, just like I did to you. You're going to hit one down the wall, and then I'm going to play a boast, which is going to hit the side wall and then the front, and you're going to try and return that one. So each shot now is supposed to progress the other one. So from that position, if John plays a straight drive, I then boast. If he can then get onto that and play a drop shot, which will look something like this. So if the boast comes round, he then plays each move down, and it lands very short, very low on the front wall, just above the tin, and hopefully bouncing twice before your opponent gets a chance to play it. Very, very attacking shot. Obviously the risk is slightly more in this shot, so it can be a great shot to attack, but also if you hit the tin, which is 17 inches for the men's game, professional game, you can also risk going too low and you hit the top of the tin and you can make an unforced error. So very risk-reward situation with the drop shot. Another one, I think probably the most underrated shot in the game of squash, even professional level, is probably the lob. There's a lot of space on the front wall. You can see the building here. There's a lot of space to throw up a good lob, where very, very tough for the player to get the ball up. So you're trying to hit the ball as high on the front wall as possible, really open the racket face, really throw the ball up. Can be used as a defensive shot, can also be used as an attacking shot to try and put pressure on your opponent up high on the volley. A very, very, very hard shot to return, and as I said, probably the most underused shot in the game of squash.
As a world #1 squash player, Nick, perhaps you'd like to talk us through what kind of racket you use, because it's obviously moved on a lot since the wooden thing I used in my day. And secondly, how fit do you need to be? Obviously very fit, but what specific fitness do you need?
Well, first of all, fitness-wise, there's the beauty with squash training is there's so many different aspects of fitness that you can bring in and train that you can bring into it. The most specific way of training is sort of to think squash match, squash court is 45 minutes long, up to an hour. So do a lot of interval training, circuit-based training to sort of really low rest, high reps, keep changing around different parts of your body, sort of a bit on the bike, core, lower leg work, upper body work, back to sort of some treadmill stuff, say. Really, any interval training, just not much rest, repeat. I do a lot of that for my squash training. I think that's the most specific way of training, particularly for squash. The racket I use at Dunlop, it's a new one, it's just coming out in the next few weeks. It's biomimetic, and it's I love the fact that for me it's lighter through the air. The technology nowadays, it's just the speed in which it travels through the air is great, suits my game. I like to get up the middle of the court and volley the ball, so it's perfect for my game, and I can get up in it. The head speed is improving, as I say, with technology all the time, and it suits my game perfectly.